How to stay fit and healthy while working in a full-time job? This is a question that so many of us are asking ourselves. And I know from my time working in McKinsey how difficult it can be to manage the high-paced job, the whole workload, with staying healthy, with keeping to your daily health routines. Today I have something very special for you because I have a guest here with me. I have Marie here with me, who is a true expert on living the healthy life. I know you will love her and you will take so much value out of all the tips that she will give you. But to start properly, welcome to my channel Firm Learning. My name is Heinrich and this is the right place for all the tips, tricks and strategies to be successful in the first years of your career. As always, if you're taking any value out of this video at all, and I know that you will this time, please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm and also subscribe to my channel for even more content from me. I will release at least one video every Saturday. And if you want to see even more content from me, also follow me on my Instagram. My handle is Firm Learning. There I'm releasing new content pretty much every single day for you. And on my Instagram channel, I made a little survey. I asked you guys whether you struggle as well with keeping a balance between working in a full-time job and also staying fit, exercising and doing all these things that we all know are so important. And I must say the result surprised me a little bit because over 80% of you said that yes, I do struggle with this as well. So this gives me some hope because apparently I'm not the only one who struggles with these things. And this tells me that probably this video was even more necessary than I thought. So I'm very excited for what is about to come for this great interview. Looking forward to that. Thanks for watching as well and let's get right into it. So here I'm back and I'm having Marie with me. Marie, thank you for being here. This is so amazing to have you today. So yeah, Marie, maybe you just want to briefly introduce yourself. Who are you? What qualifies you to speak about these topics?
Thanks for having me, Heinrich. Hi everyone, I'm Marie and I used to work in a law firm and worked 80 hours a week. And I know the struggles of having and establishing a very healthy lifestyle, especially for those who don't want to be very stressed or depressed and struggle on how to establish a very healthy lifestyle.
That's amazing, but there's more than that, right? I think you also wrote a book or something like that?
Oh yeah, I did write a book, or two books. One book on establishing a healthy lifestyle, including a lot of recipes for you, and then also a time management book, but that's not the topic of today's video.
That's amazing, and I'm sure that in the end maybe we also have some opportunity to maybe even also show the book and maybe you can say a few words on that. But I'd say before that, let's directly jump into the topic, right? So here on my channel, we talk all about how to be successful in the first years of your career. And of course, for all of us, for all these viewers out there, it's just so important also to get these two things under one head. On the one hand side, of course, the high-paced job, but then also the healthy life. What are the dimensions, what are the things you are thinking about when getting your life in order? What do you believe are the relevant things here?
So I would say there are four topics. The four topics start with a morning routine, which I will describe later on. Then obviously working out, and then food. So food is a very, very important part of a very healthy lifestyle. And the last one is sleep. I know you do get too little sleep, but yeah, if you maybe cut one or two things, maybe you do have some more sleep.
Then I'd say, well, that's a perfect structure, almost as if you are a consultant. It's amazing. But then let's start with the morning routine actually. And frankly, I tried that a couple of times to do some, yoga or some meditation in the morning and so on, but I miserably failed with all these things most of the time. So what are the components that you would recommend for a morning routine, and do you have some tips on how to make these things actually stick to your life?
I mean, those are two different topics. So what I do suggest is that you start with baby steps. Every routine starts with establishing maybe one step, and then you can go from one step to the second step. So my first step would always include drinking a warm glass of water with some lemon juice. And I know a lot of you guys, you stay in 4 and 5-star hotels. Every hotel has some lemon juice, and if they don't have some fresh lemon juice, they do have those sachets with some lemon juice, and you can just pour it in a warm glass of water, or if you don't have a water boiler on your hotel room, you can just take a glass of sink water, tap water. Lemon water is important for you because it boosts your metabolism and starts your metabolism. So it's really important to start your day not by drinking something cold, because it actually shocks your stomach, but drinking something warm to like welcome the day.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. Okay, so warm glass with lemon juice. Is there something more to it?
No, actually that's it. And then obviously the morning routine would include a small workout, but then we're already at the workout section. You do not always have to include your workout in the morning, but I would suggest you to include it in the morning, because in the evening, I mean, that's my impression, then you're too tired and you're too stressed, and probably your partner or project leader demands a lot of time of you. So do it in the morning, and I promise you will feel much better and refreshed.
That's interesting. I mean, personally, I have to say, for me, it always felt so much more difficult to work out in the morning than in the evening, but I guess that's maybe also a question of your personal type and preference. But okay, I understood your recommendation is to do it in the morning. Any other things? What other elements are core to a good morning routine from your perspective?
I mean, obviously, it does include getting up a bit earlier than you tend to get up. So probably the most of you have a lifestyle where they try to sleep the much they can. So their timer maybe gets up at 7 or 8, and then you just have a short shower, and then you rush down to the buffet and you just stuff into the food, and then you head to the client.
Yeah, that was me for years, for sure.
So what I recommend, just maybe start by getting up a half an hour earlier, then drink your warm glass of water, and then maybe just do 20 minutes. And I promise you, once you establish that routine, you will feel the differences.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, there's also all this whole element of mindfulness, right? Just in the morning, not starting the day off completely rushed and stressed already because you're already late and your timer just went on a couple of minutes later than you hoped for. And just, is this a thing, mindfulness? What can you do without a big time invested in the morning to start off the day in a mindful way?
I do always include a very short meditation. I know it's a lot to ask of you to start, like, to include a workout and also that warm glass of water. So
the warm glass of water, that's quick, right?
Yeah,
that's
okay. So then maybe start with 5 minutes of meditation. Yeah. And my tip for good meditation is try to find a very quiet seat and then close your eyes and do a body scan. If you are interested in that body scan, I can link you some interesting videos on that.
I think that's we're gonna do for sure. So we're gonna then link a few key resources that Marie recommends below. But interesting concept. Okay, cool. So that's the morning routine. Anything else you'd like to add to that?
I think that's it for now.
So let me summarize then. It's the warm glass of water with the lemon juice. It's some basic exercise, which we're going to talk about more in a minute about. And then it's also small meditation, 5 minutes or so for some basic mindfulness exercise. I think doesn't matter how late the last night was, doesn't matter how busy we are, we can always find the time for drinking a certain glass of warm water and also 5 minutes meditation. But now, of course, the next thing is exercise. And now you also said that you would like to recommend that to do that in the morning. I mean, when I exercise, that can easily take 30 minutes, 60 minutes. That is quite a big time invested in the morning, right?
That's true. That's totally true. You don't have to invest 30 to 60 minutes. There are a lot of disbeliefs that you need a lot of time for working out, and to have a good workout, you have to work out long. That's wrong. Already, like if you do body weight exercises, it doesn't have to be a run, or it can just be maybe some exercises on a YouTube channel you like, where you use some body weight. A very good exercise I would always suggest is planking, because it stabilizes your back muscles and obviously is good for you sitting very, very long hours on a project, or maybe some push-ups, which are really beneficial as well, or sit-ups.
So how much time do you need to invest from your recommendation in the morning? And so what is the time budget that you should take here?
I would recommend start with 15 to 20 minutes every day. I mean, obviously, if you don't do it every day in the beginning, it's not that bad, but just like starting a routine is really beneficial for you.
Yeah, I mean, to sum that up, that would be now 15, 20 minutes of exercise, then 5 minutes of meditation, then drinking a glass of water. So probably that would mean an investment of about half an hour, which I know can be sometimes quite tough if you really work super late in the evening. But then probably half an hour to just start your day in the right mood, just to make sure that you're set up right. Probably in the long term, that really will be worth your time, right?
Exactly. I mean, there are a lot of people that after a long work day, they check their social media. And if I can make one suggestion, cut the social media usage. I know it's very addictive, and obviously it makes fun to check your Instagram stories or any Facebook posts. I know that. But out of your 5-day week or maybe a 4-day week at the client, just cut the 4 days, and you still have 3 days where you can like binge on Instagram.
Though of course there's one exception, and this is watching videos on my channel. That of course you should always do. But yes, I completely agree, cut out all of this. But that's a good point. And I mean, how I always thought about that when I worked at McKinsey, the exercise is that I always tried to get 3 units of like longer exercise sessions. And now I learned from Marie that actually you're recommended doing a little session every single morning, right? Probably more to get you started, to get your metabolism up, than really to do some serious training. But then I always hope to do 3 sessions on top of that. And what I always did was Fridays. So on Friday evening, usually I was able to get out of the office a bit earlier. So then that for sure was a session. And then also either Saturday or Sunday, I would go for a second session. And then there was only one session that I needed to somehow fit within the work week of, let's say, Monday to Thursday. And my perception here was that somehow, if I really wanted to, that was always possible, right? So it doesn't matter how tough the project was, how difficult it was, there was always some time. For me, it was in the evening, because that was just my personal preference, to get maybe a 1 hour run in on Tuesday or Wednesday or so. I was always able to then discuss that also as an associate with my project lead, with my team lead, just to get the time in. And then maybe that would mean that maybe I only had a very quick dinner or no dinner at all, or maybe then afterwards I went back to my desk and then continued working, but getting that little exercise unit in, that was always possible from my experience.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a good routine that you established, like always having 3 workouts a week. I mean, if you have 1 day in a week in your 4 days of project work, and everybody knows, especially your boss knows, then that's a reason that the boss will leave you alone at that time. So if the boss knows, okay, Heinrich goes running at 7 p.m. and he always goes running at 7 p.m. on a Monday, he knows that's your holy time. Yeah. And everyone, also your colleagues, will leave you alone.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and I think I completely agree, Marie. And how I always did it, especially when I was an associate, I mean, once I then was the project lead, of course, you maybe have a bit more flexibility how you organize your day. But in the beginning of the project, I always made sure to have such a conversation with my project lead, with my team lead. We had kind of a 2-sided conversation, what was really important to me in terms of the way of working and handling all these things, and what was important to the project lead. And at least at McKinsey, there's a bit of a culture to just in a standardized way having these conversations, right? So this was quite typical. But then I always made it clear that it was just very important for me to get a proper unit of longer exercise in once every week from Monday to Thursday. And I always try to then also pick one day to make that stick and to make everybody know. And then from my experience, even though of course the characters of project leads and so on can be quite different, right? But from my experience, there was always the possibility to kind of discuss this and agree with the project lead of that. And I just, from my experience, it's important just to be explicit, just to make it really clear that this is your expectation as an associate to be able to do that. And usually we'll find that people will agree, right, that there should be an opportunity once a week to carve an hour of sports out of your evening, out of your morning, right? So people will agree and this will be possible, but it's also a matter of you demanding that, of you making it clear that this is really important to you. Just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, great.
No, cool. So that's, I assume that's exercise. So let's now jump to the third topic, and this is food. And I know this is a topic you're especially passionate about.
Exactly. So in my book, I promote the vegan, gluten-free, and no sugar lifestyle. I know this sounds very strange for maybe a lot of you guys, and I don't recommend every one of you to cut everything from one day to the other. I know, Heinrich, you love your steak and you love your meat.
I do.
But what I would recommend for everyone who has some time, I mean, you don't really need a lot of time to eat healthy, is maybe start with cutting the sugar. I know, especially on a very long work day, those chocolate bars are very tempting, and obviously the longer you work, the better they taste.
So let's talk about a typical day of somebody working in a law firm, on a consulting firm, on a busy corporate job. What would you recommend them to eat at the different times of the day?
So I would have 3 big meals. I would start with breakfast, which is oatmeal and keeps you full for a couple of hours. Then I would eat a light lunch, maybe some salad with some proteins, and maybe something warm in the evening if you do have the time to eat something warm. And as a snack, I would include 2 snacks. I would include some nuts and some dried fruit.
And why not?
They're especially good for your brain health.
Okay.
So I would recommend eating walnuts if you're not allergic to them, obviously. They're very, very good for your brain health.
Cool. I mean, and just to second that, right? So also, especially these snacks in the team room. I mean, this is such a trap, right? And there are so many experiences that I had in the team room where then just people just started to buy chocolate, just leave it there for everybody just to eat. And this is just so difficult then to resist that temptation. And from my experience, in the end, what it always came down to, if you want to change that, it was always up to one person in the team then just to stand up and say, hey guys, let's not have these chocolate snacks all the time, but let's get some other snacks, and just somebody taking the initiative and then organizing some other stuff from the supermarket around next corner, whatever your opportunities are from wherever your workplace is or wherever the client was. So why shouldn't that be you, right? So just take the initiative if you believe that your team is developing really unhealthy habits, which then of course often leads also to yourself eating unhealthy. Take the initiative yourself and just make an impact, say that you want to change that, and then trust me, everybody in the team will be grateful for that.
Yeah, exactly. So what I promote in my book is a vegan, gluten-free, and no added sugar lifestyle, and obviously those chocolate bars do count to sugar. So just maybe stand up and tell your teammates no chocolate bars any longer. And if it's some bars, then maybe it's the very healthy nut bars you can buy in a supermarket as well.
This is also one of my experiences. I just remember one team I had where just we developed this habit of pretty much once a week or so, we just bought from the supermarket a huge box of nut bars. And I mean, maybe then they also had a little bit of chocolate on that, but not like a full chocolate bar. But probably this still wasn't the most healthy snack out there, but it was much better than, these usual bars of chocolate or candy that you just unfortunately have so often in these team rooms.
But be careful. I know it's a good thing to start with nut bars. There are a lot of nut bars, especially in supermarkets, that include a lot of sugar. Maybe just turn the nut bar around and then look for added sugar. That's the thing you always want to look out, added sugar. If it's naturally included, it's not that bad for you.
Yeah, we don't want added sugar. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, that's I think some great insights into the food. Let's now come to sleep. I mean, and again, this is just such a difficult topic. You're just chronically, constantly sleeping not enough, unfortunately, on so many projects. Do you have any suggestions what you can do to maybe just improve the quality of your sleep, or just nevertheless the extent of your sleep? What are your suggestions on that?
Okay, so obviously I cannot change your working hours. That's something you can change, and if your partner demands that slide to be finished maybe at 2 a.m. in the morning, obviously you cannot say no.
Well, I would not necessarily agree with that. I mean, I think there are some ways you can push back also on that, but maybe that's a topic for another video. But
Okay.
let's just assume we cannot change it.
Okay, so obviously then a lot of you guys take out their phone when they're already in bed and then they start checking messages. This is something I would cut. It's proven that if you check your phone and also check a screen directly before you start sleeping, your sleep is much worse than if you don't. So if it's possible for you, try to half an hour before you go to sleep not check any screens any longer. A, and B, try to meditate for 5 minutes before you sleep. Sit down in your hotel room, close your eyes, and then do a body scan. And when you sleep, what is also really healthy and what promotes good sleep is a lavender, maybe a lavender oil. You can rub on your temples, and lavender is proven to promote good sleep.
Okay, I've never tried that, but maybe we'll try that out in the future. Cool. And just two things, also just adding from my experiences working in consulting, what I felt was really helpful, two tangible tips. So first, in the early years of working in consulting, I just drank so much coffee all day, even until late in the evening. And I just was convinced that it didn't really affect me in the sense that I was still able to sleep even though I just drank several cups of coffee or anything like that. And what I then realized over time is that while it was true, while it was correct that I was still able to sleep, somehow I realized that the quality of my sleep lagged a bit, right? And then I did a bit of research and I found out that the half period time of caffeine can take up to 4 to 5 hours. And I found that quite insane, right? So this means if you have a cup of coffee at 6 p.m. in the evening, that means that then around midnight you still have half of the caffeine in your body. And I mean, that really made me thinking, and that made me realize that probably I shouldn't drink coffee or take in other sources of caffeine, in the afternoon. So I usually try after 3 p.m., 4 p.m. not drink any coffee anymore. And at least subjectively, I felt that my sleep improved. And the second tip that I developed over time, or I found out over time, that for me it really helped to put the smartphone on airplane mode while I sleep. And I'm not sure why exactly. I'm not sure if this is because all the frequencies then maybe don't happen anymore. I mean, I'm not sure if there's any scientific rationale for that, or maybe it's just, knowing that the phone will not disturb you, that nobody will call you at night or anything like that. But just having the phone on airplane mode, at least for me, really improved my sleep quality then over time.
Great idea, Heinrich.
Awesome. Cool. So, yeah, anything you'd like to add on that?
No, I think that's one section obviously as well. Try to reduce your coffee intake, rather drink some green tea instead of the caffeine. But I think everyone can handle that the way they like.
Yeah, perfect. So I think this now has been quite a comprehensive discussion. So we talked about morning routines, we talked about exercising, about food, about sleep. So thank you very much, Marie. But now also I'd like to give you the short opportunity just to introduce your new book a bit. What is it? Tell us about it.
Thanks. So this is my new book. You can buy it on Amazon as a print on demand or an ebook. So if you're on your job, then you can maybe download it on your Kindle or maybe your iPhone. And it does include a lot of recipes that are very, very healthy, such as some oatmeal, maybe some almond mousse or some porridge, and then maybe how to start your day. Here you see the lemon water, as I already discussed. And obviously book 2 is already in the making, so I hope you will buy my book and I hope you like it.
No, I can completely second that, and it's a great book. I read it myself, and of course we will leave a link to the book below in the video description, so check it out. And thank you, Marie. That's it. I really appreciated here this interview with you. I think there were some really great and tangible tips that we all can profit from. So again, if you took any value out of the video at all, please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm to help this video be found by many more people as well. And please also subscribe to my channel for even more content on how to be successful in the first years of your career. So thank you again, Marie. Thank you all of you watching out there. I really appreciate your time. This is Heinrich from Learning, and see you next Saturday.